Hi everyone! Throughout high school and the beginning years of college, I had a difficult time just learning how to study. I would watch a little bit of videos here and there just trying to learn how to study, and I took a few of the tips, but it didn't really help me out too much. So today, I thought I'd share with you all my top ways of studying and how it helps me, and perhaps you could take one or two things out of this video so that you guys don't have to waste as much time as I did just learning how to study, and perhaps it'll help you out. Generally, when I'm in class, I have a deck of cards. One second, I'll show you guys what I mean. What I mean by that is I have these little containers, right? These are 4x6 cards, and this one is my math cards. Now, these are like pretty much like playing cards for me. I love them. Each time, since this one is mathematics based, when I get curious, let's say some kind of, I don't know, here we go, there's a proof for quotient rules, here's some more rules for integrals, let's see, log differentials, and we got like, let's see, Stokes theorem on this one. I've got some differential equation ones on these. Whenever I get curious about where functions or some simple stuff, even Pythagorean theorem and whatnot, I have a card for that. And what I do is I go online and I put it on this note card. So this one's pretty small, just like that. Some of them are a little bit longer, perhaps something like, I'm not so sure. Maybe Stokes theorem or something like that might be kind of big. This one's taking up like two of the note cards here and here. And what I do is after I finish all these, or not all of them, but when I finish one of these and when I'm in lecture, I just pop them up, and whenever I have an idea of what the lecture is going to be, I'm going to be like, okay, today we might go over, I don't know, maybe Maclaurin series or Taylor series, and perhaps Euler's identity might be needed, and let's say partial fraction decomposition. I just put these down, and when the teacher's talking about, let's say, a new function that involves these three cards, I'm like, oh, I remember that part and I think this equation came from, I don't know, a larger Taylor series or something like that, or perhaps Euler's identity, and then how Euler's method brought about this new equation or something. So what this does, in my opinion, is every time I bring these out, I know where it came from, how it was derived, and so when the teacher is basically talking about this new function or new equation, I have an understanding of how it's made, why it works, and it just makes the whole thing a lot more fun. Also, every time I bring it out, it's just more ingrained in my memory. I'm like, oh, that's right, this one was derived this way, and all I have to do is, after looking after a while, I already know the flow of how it was derived, and so it helps me out a lot. Now, these are really good for smaller ones, like mathematics, where you could usually prove one in one sheet on a 4x6 note card, but perhaps something a little bit bigger. Let's say when you're studying, especially like thermal fluids or something like that, then it becomes really big. And I'll share with you guys an example of that. So perhaps like something like this here, where we're learning about boundary conditions and like external flows. All of this is just related on one topic, right? Usually mathematics, it might be one big topic, but you could divide out, if it was derivatives and product rules and whatnot, then usually you could derive and prove the product rule on one sheet. But when it comes to looking at the bigger picture, especially in engineering and any of those science fields, and I'm not so sure what kind of classes, but usually you'd want to see the relationship of something that was proved before and how that applies and correlates with the other equations. So that's why I like using a regular, an A4 size paper like this, and then I would just put this on the classroom table instead of the note cards. And this way, I know, oh yeah, that's right, last lecture we learned about this and it ties into the next lecture. So I found that using something like this, and then you could always buy sleeves of this on Amazon or something, just so you don't get finger smudges and whatnot. I really like keeping my notes like this. And like I said, every time you look at it, it gets ingrained in your head a little bit more, and every time you look at it, it can help you in questioning it as well. Sometimes when you see it once, you take it for granted and you might think you know where it came from, but when you look at it over and over, you're like, oh wait, why did that work? It's like, are you sure? You kind of second doubt yourself, and that's why I really enjoy that. Now, so right now I came back from lecture, so I'm kind of dressed up in my comfortable clothes when I like to study. But anyways, I took notes from the classroom lecture, so which is this one. We are working on kind of like Laplace transforms for different engineering purposes. And when your teacher puts up slides, I find that so useful. About 15 to 30 minutes before the lecture starts, I like to look at the slides so I have a general idea of what's going to be on class, and even jot down a little bit of questions that I might have for that particular lecture. But so I looked at that once. Now, memory, to have that engraved in your head takes a lot of iterations and seeing it over and over. So looking at it once before class, that's already once. Then hearing it, that's twice. And then 3 is kind of like when you're hearing it and jogging notes. So that's already kind of reviewing the whole lecture 3 times. And then when I come back home, I get my A4 paper and I write down the main parts that I might need to remember. So I'm over here and I have the computer. And as you can see, so we're just basically going over Laplace transform because it's been about 2 years since we used it and taken differential equations before we got to this class. But anyways, I'm going to basically see, I highlighted in class the most important ones in red and kind of the reasoning behind it in blue. And you could always choose your own colors and whatnot, but I find that the most helpful. And I'm basically going to go onto this A4 paper, write down what I think I might need, and I'll flip it out on the next lecture. I hope this video helps, and I hope your guys' school and education is going to be that much more fun. It's like playing cards in class, right? Well, thanks again for watching.